Hey friends, how's it going? My name is Gabby, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be starting a new thriller reading vlog. And in today's reading vlog, I'm going to be reading 3 newly released thrillers that I've been highly anticipating. All 3 of these thrillers are actually written by authors that I have read and enjoyed a book from before, and so I think for those reasons I'm going into these books with some fairly high expectations. The first book I'm going to be reading for this video is Just the Nicest Couple by Kubica, and this one is the author of Local Woman Missing. I'm not going to lie though, this is an author that I've had hit or miss feelings for in the past, but Local Woman Missing was a 5-star book for me, and so that's a reason why I'm really hyped for this one. This one actually just went on sale January 10th. I think this one's the most recently published out of the 3 that I'm going to be reading. And this one just says it's about 2 couples, 2 close friends, and 1 missing spouse. And that's pretty much all I need to know going in. I think it is kind of a typical setup where there's like a missing person. I'm excited to jump in though. I really do love this cover as well. I love this like teal kind of green color on it. I just think it looks really beautiful. The next book I'm going to be reading for this video is The Villa by Rachel Hawkins, which this is the latest thriller from Rachel Hawkins. I've read both The Wife Upstairs and Reckless Girls last year, and I feel like both The Wife Upstairs and Reckless Girls were like almost like middle of the road thrillers for me, but I always really find this author's thrillers to just be very entertaining and very well written, and so that's why I think I keep coming back to this author. There's just something about her thrillers that are really fun to me, and so I'm hoping that this one will be the same. And The Villa is a thriller that follows these 2 friends, Emily and Chess, which Chess is like a really cool name by the way, and it's about how they're going to be going to Italy to finish working on each of their books. I think they're both authors and they're both going to be writing their books, and then we also get chapters that take place in the 1970s when we follow something that also happened at the same villa that they're going to be staying in Italy. And then lastly for this vlog, I'm going to be reading Secluded Cabin Sleeps 6 by Lisa Unger, and this author is the author of Confessions on the 745, which was a thriller that I read a few years ago that I really enjoyed. This author is another one though that I'm kind of nervous about because I did end up DNFing Last Girl Ghosted. That was her most recent book, and I did try that book, but I ended up DNFing it. This author, you know, I was looking on the inside page here, and I'm pretty sure this author has about 20 books published now, which is just totally wild. I did not think she had that many published. But yeah, this one just went on sale in November. This one is a chilling locked room thriller about 3 couples who rent a luxury cabin in the woods and a weekend getaway to die for. This is like one of my favorite thriller premises that I've heard in a long time, but the reason why I've been so nervous to read this one is because I've seen this one getting some negative reviews from my close trusted friends on the internet, and so that's I guess the main reason why I haven't gotten around to yet, and I've been pushing it off because I'm like, oh no, because if this book doesn't live up to all of my hopes and dreams, then I'm gonna be devastated, you know? Yeah, these are the 3 books that I'm gonna be reading for this video. I feel like they kind of match in a way, like they all have some like yellow bluish green vibes going on. And before we do jump into the reading vlog, I wanted to tell you a little bit about a product that has really helped my productivity over these last few days, and that is Magic Mind. Magic Mind is the world's first productivity drink, and this thing has been quite a game changer for my productivity because I'm definitely the kind of person who relies on like iced coffee in the afternoon or an energy drink to boost my energy levels throughout the day. But Magic Mind is great because you can just take it in the morning, you can take it with a cup of coffee if you'd prefer, or you can just take it by itself with food. And it's nice because Magic Mind is made to help you relax and also to stay more focused and energized while you're doing your daily activities. How Magic Mind works is that it has nootropics inside, which basically means that it just has this L-theanine in it that kind of acts as like nature's caffeine. It's an ingredient that's commonly found in matcha, and it helps to increase your focus and attention throughout the day. I was a little bit hesitant when I started taking these because I'm not the biggest matcha fan, and like the flavor, I wasn't sure if it was going to be something that I would like, but I actually really don't mind the flavor of this. I actually think it's really pleasant. And I like that I noticed that it's not that I feel like wired in the same way that I do when I drink like coffee or an energy drink, because like sometimes those can make me feel so wired to the point where I get a little bit jittery, but this was different. This just kind of helped me stay focused throughout the day, and it wasn't as aggressive. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking out Magic Mind if you're looking for something different when it comes to something that'll give you a little bit of energy and help you stay focused throughout the day. So yeah, go ahead and use the link in my description and use my code gabbyreads20 to get up to 56% off your first subscription for the next 10 days. And thank you so much to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's video, and now let's jump into the reading vlog. Okay, hello friends. I have started on Just the Nicest Couple and I'm 116 pages into this book already because it is reading super quick. I'm actually currently doing some Patreon reading sprints. I just like randomly woke up today and it was so rainy and just so gloomy outside and I was like, I just want to sit and chill and read a book. So I was like, why not do that on Patreon reading sprints with some friends? So we're all just hanging out. It's a great time. This one is a new thriller and it's so interesting because we're following these two different couples and it's cool because we get two different point of views in this book. So we get the point of view of the wife in one of the couples and then we get the point of view of the husband in the other couples. It's interesting because right at the beginning of this book, you know, we follow the perspective of the husband and he's talking about how his pregnant wife is like acting so strangely, you know, she's like, oh, make sure you lock the doors and like something clearly is like bothering her or something clearly happened with her. And then in the other perspective, we follow the wife and her husband has recently gone missing. And so, you know, we're trying to figure out what could have happened and we think the reason why this husband has gone missing might have something to do with the wife and that's why she's acting super weird in the other couple. And so you're just kind of following both of them and it's really interesting because this guy who went missing was a doctor, like he was a surgeon and he's like not showing up to work and so people are like, why isn't he showing up to work? Like this is so unlike him and it's just really interesting. So I'm just going to continue reading this on sprints and hopefully like I'm just flying through this book. It is so quick and it's been a while since I've just read a thriller like this, like without the help of the audiobook. Like it's just so interesting and I can't wait to see where it goes. It's a little bit later. It's just about 5 o'clock, but it looks really dark in here because the sun has already set, so I turned on my lights. But I wanted to give you one more update because I'm now about 200 pages in to Just the Nicest Couple, and I am having the best time with this book. I feel like it's been a while, you know, since I have read a book like this without the help of the audiobook, and I'm just like flying through it. I feel like this author's writing style is just like really easy to get into, and like, yeah, she's a little bit like overly descriptive at times, but now I'm kind of like familiar enough with her writing style that I can like skim through the chunky paragraphs that I feel like don't have too much relevant information. Cause like she'll do the thing where she's like, you know, it'll end off a chapter on like a mysterious note and then the next chapter will start with like, her and Jake met back in college and just gives you a bunch of like unnecessary information that you can kind of like skim through, you know? But this shit is so fascinating. I feel like as far as thrillers go, like the premise does seem to be kind of a basic premise when it comes to a thriller, you know, like a man goes missing, this couple that you thought was like just a nicest couple, like they might have had some involvement in what happened to him and you're just kind of trying to figure out what happened to this guy Jake. Like that's the main mystery that's happening in this book, but there's just something about it that's just so interesting. I also like love the vibes of like you feel like someone is watching you or you feel like someone might have been in your home when you weren't there. Like those are definitely vibes and like things that might be happening in this story that I just find to be so interesting. Like it's so engaging. Like there were some chapters where I was like holding my breath, like skimming to try to see what was going to happen because I was so excited. And I love that. I feel like it's been a while since a thriller has had that kind of a impact on me, or at least it's been a while since I've felt the urge to finish reading a thriller all within one day, you know, and I feel like that's really a good sign to me. I'm probably gonna get ready to have some dinner. I just took a quick shower and I think I'm gonna try to finish this tonight because I'm so invested and I just have to know where this is going. Like, I feel like if the ending of this book goes well, I can totally see myself giving this 4 to 4.5 stars. You know, it just really depends on where this story is gonna end up going for me, but I can't deny the fact that I'm having so much fun reading this book. Hello, I am here with an update because I just finished Just the Nicest Couple. This was such a strange ending for me for this book. I feel like, you know, I was saying earlier how this thriller isn't like anything new. I feel like this thriller is actually like, I feel like I've read a ton of thrillers that are just like this, and I feel like this thriller doesn't really bring anything new to the table, and I feel especially that way about the ending of this book. Like the last 20 pages I thought were so predictable and so weak, and I feel like I just didn't really get anything from that ending. Like what the heck, I wanted so much more of the story to be like wrapped up, and I feel like with one of the characters it just kind of like left things off in a very vague way that I didn't really know how she was feeling about things. I don't know, I just feel like that ending was very not satisfying, but at the same time I feel like I still want to give this like a 3-star just because of how much fun I had reading this book. Like, yeah, is this thriller like one of the best thrillers ever? No, it's not. I feel like this thriller is actually like really basic, and it reminds me of so many books that I've read before, but there's just something about this formula or this style of storytelling that really works for me, even though I do think it's kind of ridiculous. Like the story ends up being really ridiculous and like eye roll worthy, and like none of the twists at the end are satisfying or very good. I feel like it's very predictable, but I still can't deny like how much fun I had reading this book. I mean, this is definitely one of those like popcorn thrillers that's just like a fun, quick read, but it's not very satisfying, and it's not going to leave a very like long-lasting impression on you, but it's still like entertaining enough that it's like an enjoyable thriller, you know, but it's not necessarily something I would super like highly recommend, especially for like the seasoned thriller readers. I feel like this is going to be very predictable and almost kind of boring for some people. I can see that. So like I can see why this one is getting lower reviews. Like, I don't know, it was fine. It was a 3-star for me. Right now, I'm getting ready to go out to dinner with my parents. I haven't seen my parents in a minute. We're going to be going out. Me, Rachel, and Obed are going out to dinner with my parents because we're going to be celebrating Obed tonight. And I'm so excited because I haven't been to this Mexican restaurant in a minute. And I haven't had Mexican food in like a minute. So I'm really looking forward to it. Hey, how's it going? It's about 7 o'clock at night right now. It's been nearly a full day since I last updated you because last night I started on The Villa and I actually got about 50% of the way into this book. I got 136 pages in one go last night. And I feel like this book is a really, really quick and easy read. And in this story, something that I think is cool is that we're following this protagonist named Emily, and she's a writer of like cozy crime fiction or like cozy mysteries, which I think is really cool. Like I love following not only like authors and writers in books, but I think especially like the cozy mystery genre is a really cool kind of author to be following. But Emily is kind of like down on her luck recently because her husband just kind of like divorced her when things started to get hard. I think she got sick and then her husband just decided to leave her, and then now he's like claiming royalties of her books because she had always said that like these books would not be possible without him, and he's like taking credit for a lot of the things that she's done. It's like super fucked up. But also Emily has this best friend and her name is Chess Chandler, which like, by the way, coolest fucking name ever, Chess Chandler. Like that is so freaking cool. I feel like Rachel Hawkins, she always has characters that has like the really coolest names I've ever heard, because I remember in her last book in Reckless Girls there was a character named Lux, And I was like, that is so cool. Like, where does she come up with these names? I don't know, but I love it. Anyways, so her best friend Chess Chandler, she's a writer of like self-help books, so she's also like an author. There's a point at the beginning of this book where Chess is like, hey, you know, we've both been going through like a hard time recently. How about I take you to Italy and we're gonna stay in this villa and we can like finish writing our projects together, you know, because she's an author too. And so our main protagonist Emily is like, yeah, bitch, like let's go to fucking Italy. And honestly, so far the Italy vibes in this book are giving major like White Lotus vibes, just because of the whole like rich people on vacation in Italy type of thing. Like that's the main reason I'm comparing it to White Lotus. But then also, you know, there is part of this book that takes place in 1974, and then we're following this girl named Mary. And it's interesting because she's like a really young girl and one of her friends is like dating this musician who's like significantly older than her, and there's all this like drama surrounding their characters right now. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really bored by the past chapters. Like I would much rather this book have just been written in the present day, because I really love the present day timelines with the two best friends, but the past timelines with the girls in the 1970s, like I just don't care that much. But what's interesting is that, you know, we are learning about this villa because I think they're all staying at the same villa in both timelines. But in the present day, you know, our protagonist, she's learning that this villa, there was like this big murder that happened in this house in the villa back in the 70s. And so she's starting to realize like, oh my gosh, like there was this huge murder that happened here. And so she's getting really invested in that. She's like listening to podcasts about it. I feel like there was this one part of the book, because like I'm listening to this on audio too, and there was this one part where there was like a random podcast episode clip where she's like hearing about the history of this villa. And oh my gosh, the freaking narrators of that, you know, fake podcast had some of the most obnoxious sounding voices I've ever heard in my life. Like I was like, oh my god, skip. But like so far, I don't know, I feel like this is okay. It's looking like it's probably gonna be like a 3-star, like middle of the road average thriller for me. I think something that I am really enjoying about this book is how quick it's reading. I feel like this one and the last thriller book that I just read, Just the Nicest Couple, I feel like both of these books just read so incredibly fast, and they're just so fast paced, which I do really like. And this one's really on the shorter side. This one's only about like 270 pages. So I feel like getting through this book will take me literally no time at all. I feel like I'm just gonna sit here tonight while I'm like painting my nails and catching up on my journaling. I think I'm just gonna sit here and try to finish listening to this on audio, because it should be a quick read. I'm just not loving this one. I feel like so far, at least story-wise, this is probably my least favorite from Rachel Hawkins so far, because, you know, while Reckless Girls was like a little bit ridiculous, it was also so much fun. Like I had so much fun with it, and I thought those characters were all really interesting. And then same with like The Wife Upstairs. Like The Wife Upstairs was just a good time. And so this one, so far, it's looking like it might be my least favorite from this author, but we'll just see how the rest of the book goes before I say it for sure. Right, so I just finished reading The Villa, and I feel like this reading vlog is not going very well for me, because I'm sad to say that I feel pretty disappointed by this book. I feel like this book didn't really do much for me in terms of being thrilling. I kind of have an unpopular opinion, because I'm seeing on Goodreads that most people are rating this book, you know, pretty average. I mean, most people are rating this around like 3 or 4 stars, but I feel like I kind of want to rate this like a 2.5, maybe a 3-star if I'm feeling generous, but this is definitely my least favorite from Rachel Hawkins so far. I feel like her books, for the most part, they're really easy to read and easy to like get through within one sitting, you know, like they're really quick reads, and I love that about her writing. But at the same time, I feel like this is the one that I connected with the characters the least, because I feel like I really liked the story of like Chess and then her friend Emily. Like I liked the present day chapters that were taking place in Italy, but for some reason I could not care less about the chapters that were happening in like the 1970s. It felt like this book was trying to be like a mix of like White Lotus, but then also kind of like Daisy Jones and the Six vibes, except like murdery. I also feel like this book was also kind of trying to be like that other book that I've read that's called We Were Never Here or something like that, because that's another thriller that I've read where two friends go on a vacation and then like something murdery happens, and it's kind of like, it just felt very similar to that book in a lot of ways. I do think the friendship was a little bit better in this book than We Were Never Here, just like based off of my personal personal taste, but I think overall these books were both very, you know, average, mediocre thrillers for me. And while I did like, you know, the Italy atmosphere in this book, I liked the idea of like, oh, this villa that they're staying in, there was this huge like murder that took place there and like what's going on with that. And there was some plot twists at the end, like some that I thought were so fucking obvious that I was like, can we even really call this a plot twist? Like this is like thriller 101, duh. But then there was one thing that I was like, oh, okay, like that's kind of interesting. Like I can see what the author was trying to do there. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing that I didn't really see coming. The ending was also just kind of like meh. Like, I don't know. I just didn't really care. I think that's what it comes down to, is the fact that I just didn't really care about any of the suspense that was happening at the end, because I didn't care enough about these characters or the situation, which is just really unfortunate because I thought that I could really enjoy this book. But I don't know, man. What a bummer. I feel like this reading vlog is cursed because now this third book that I said I was going to read for this vlog is the one that I felt like I had the least chance of loving, because this third one, you know, the Secluded Cabin, Sleep 6, has been getting the worst reviews, I think, out of all three of these. So now I'm like, god damn, if I didn't like these first two books that I actually had high hopes for, what am I getting myself into going into this third book, you know? But I am curious to know, you know, if any of you have read this book, did you enjoy it, and how do you feel like it compares to this author's other books? Because for me, The Wife Upstairs is still probably my favorite from this author, and then Reckless Girls was like super fun. Like I thought Reckless Girls was a really fun story that I read last year. It wasn't like super memorable for me, but it just had really great like island vibes, really interesting characters that I really connected with right away. Whereas with this one, like, yeah, the Italy vibes were cool and it was strong, but I just didn't really connect with the characters as much in this one. Anyways, on to the next. Hello, it has been a number of days since the last time that I updated this vlog, but I have just had a really long week, you know? I've had a long week of just a bunch of stuff that I've been doing, and I'm pretty exhausted. So today is Saturday, and because it's the weekend, I just decided it would be the perfect time to just stay in bed, you know, pretty much all day and try to read Secluded Cabin Sleeps 6. And so that's what I'm planning on doing. I just downloaded the audiobook from Libro because I can't be bothered to try reading this with only my eyes right now. It's about almost 2:15 in the afternoon, but I'm now 150 pages into this book, so I thought I would give you an update. I'm actually enjoying this a lot more than I thought that I would. Like, I feel like so far this is starting off really strong, but I can also definitely see why people are saying that there's too many point of views, because for some reason, you know, I thought it was going to be 6 point of views, as in like the 6 people who are staying at this cabin, but that's not the case, because we are getting 6 point of views, but some of the point of views seem like so random, and there's like different timelines, and there's a lot of jumping around. Our main protagonist in this story is this woman named Hannah, and then she has like some issues going on with her husband Bruce, and her husband Bruce works with her brother Mako, and then, you know, we kind of follow them, and like they're the ones that are going to be staying at this cabin because the brother Mako, he wants to like do something nice for them supposedly, but it's weird because he also invites this woman named Cricket, who's like his ex-girlfriend, and her new boyfriend, and so they're going to be the ones that are all staying at this cabin. But then we not only get the perspective of like Hannah and Liza, who's like Mako's wife, but then we also get, you know, some random point of views. Like we get a point of view from this woman named Trina, who says that she's the watcher, and it seems like she's like watching them from the woods. Like, I don't really understand what her chapters are about, to be honest. And then we also do get this random chapter from this boy named Henry, and his chapters take place in 1997, and we're trying to figure out like what's going on with him. I have no idea how his chapters are even connected to what's happening. And then we also get the point of view of this character named Bracken, and he's the one who like built this cabin. And so he kind of like goes over and introduces himself, but he's also kind of fucking creepy, and I think that he's like watching them in a really creepy way. Like, I think he has like some kind of access to watching them, like cameras or something, I don't know, but he's super creepy, and reading from his perspective is like super creepy, but I also kind of like love it. Like, reading from his point of view is just like, oh. And then we also do get the perspective of Cricket, which is Mako's ex, who's gonna be like going to this cabin as well. And there's just so many seemingly random kind of points of views, and there's so many characters, and so I'm definitely like taking notes to keep track of who's who. But I don't know, so far I am really loving the vibes of this, you know, because right at the start, there's like a prologue of this book the year before like the main events take place in the story. And it's interesting because they're all celebrating Christmas together as a family, and then one of the gifts under the tree is for Hannah, our protagonist, and the gift says, "For Hannah from Santa." And they're all like, "Oh, who brought this?" And like nobody knows who brought it, and the gift for her is like a DNA testing kit, which is like so random, right? Like, why would that be a gift? And so right off the bat, you're kind of like, what the fuck is that? And like nobody's admitting to bringing it, nobody knows who brought it. It's just kind of this weird mysterious thing. And then after that, you know, the following summer is when they're going to be going to this, you know, secluded cabin and staying in this cabin together. And it seems weird because now Hannah feels like her husband Bruce is like hiding something from her, and she feels like something's going on between him and her brother that she doesn't fully understand. But I don't know, I mean, so far I am invested in all of the different like timelines and point of views. I feel like so far none of the point of views seem totally useless. I mean, I think for now, like Cricket's point of view kind of seems pointless, but like I don't know what's gonna end up happening with her story. But it's just really creepy, you know, because Hannah, after she's like looking up reviews for this cabin that they're going to be staying in, you know, a lot of the negative reviews for this cabin, people were saying that they felt like they were being watched, and they like didn't like that feeling they had from this. And then, you know, we actually do get those chapters from that character, Trina, who is like watching the cabin all creepily, and then Bracken, who like basically owns this cabin, is also kind of like watching them, and it's super creepy. And also like Liza's point of view is really interesting because she's Mako's wife, like the brother's wife, and her point of view is really interesting because she seems to have some kind of secretive thing going on that we don't really fully understand yet. So I don't know, I feel like so far the story is starting off pretty strong. With them at the cabin, there's this chef like staying there with them, I guess. Like, I don't know, his name is Chef Jeff, and he's like telling them creepy like ghost stories about how like, oh yeah, there's rumors that like at this cabin that they're all staying at, that like there are people that were murdered in this cabin, and then there's rumors that like the mother haunts the woods because she's like looking for her children or some kind of shit. Like, it's super creepy. And I don't know, I'm just really loving the atmosphere so far. I'm just really invested, and I want to see where it goes. So this is going really well so far. I'm not gonna lie, like I thought for some reason that I wasn't gonna like this one, and I think that's mostly due to the fact that I saw a lot of really negative reviews. So like, I don't want to speak too soon, but so far I'm really liking this one. Well, hello, it is much later in the night. It's about 10 o'clock, but I wanted to let you know that I just finished reading Secluded Cabin Sleeps 6. And, you know, I hate to come on here with some more bad news and with being like a negative Nancy, but the second half of this book was just not the most enjoyable thing for me, and I hate that. Like, I'm so upset that I didn't find any thrillers in this video that I really enjoyed. Things were going so well for me, I thought, with this book, you know, because I had seen this book getting negative reviews, and I was like going into it thinking, okay, like, you know, I'm trying to be optimistic here, but like, let's see what's going on. And then I was really enjoying myself for the first like 150 pages, or I don't know where I was at in that time that I updated you, but things were going well. It was interesting. But I feel like shortly after I did the update for you, there hits a point where you hit part 2 of this book. From that point on, a lot of the scenes just got so boring and so repetitive, you know, because a lot of this book, we are jumping back and forth between 2 different timelines, and I was pretty invested in like the main timeline that's happening, where you're following these couples who are going to stay at this cabin, and it's like a stormy vibe kind of situation. Like, I was invested in the present day chapters, but then later on in the book, we get so much of the chapters that are in the past, and for some reason, I just did not care as much about those, especially as I started to figure out what was actually going on and how those past chapters were like connected to the story. I was just like, oh, like, yeah, I don't really care. And then also the fact that there's, you know, a plot twist at the end of this book that I just thought was so obvious, like from the beginning. It's just one of those situations where you can predict it from the beginning and you think that the author might try to like actually throw you off from that prediction, but then it just actually ends up being that prediction. So you're like, oh, okay, like it was exactly what I was expecting it to be. There's a really great atmosphere of this book with like this storm situation, right? And it's like this storm is looming. They're going to be trapped here at this cabin, but I just didn't personally feel like the stakes were very high. Like I feel like this had the perfect premise, you know, like the most ideal premise with this setup with like this cabin and all of these friends staying there, and then like this creepy, you know, chef dude talking about how there was like murders and how there's ghosts, and it was just so creepy and so well done at the beginning. And then like the whole idea of the storm rolling in, they're gonna not have any, you know, cell phone service, they're gonna be cut off from the world basically, and then they're gonna be trapped there. Like I just thought it would be a lot more intense than it actually was, you know, like I feel like it built it up to be this really cool location and I was really excited about it, but I feel like it never really went where I wanted it to go, or at least with an atmosphere like this, I feel like it could have been a lot creepier and just like better written than it was. I just feel like this author was trying to do too much with this, you know, because after resolving everything at the end of this book, I really don't think there was a necessary reason to have as many point of views as the story does, and I just feel like the ending got a little bit too convoluted and too confusing because there's just too many goddamn characters. Like, I don't think this thriller with a story like this needs to be nearly 400 pages long. Like I just think it's a little long, there's a little too many characters for it to be that enjoyable for me, and I just wish the atmosphere with the storm like played a bigger part in the overall story. I actually just watched, you know, my friend Savannah, she had this as one of her book club picks at the end of last year, and so she did a live show with Nakia, and I was just watching it after I finished this because I was having trouble like verbalizing some of my thoughts on it, so I was like, oh my gosh, I'll just see what they say, and I would 100% agree with everything they were talking about in that live show. I was like, I feel so seen by everything that Savannah and Nakia are saying when they're talking about this, and like I don't know how I want to rate this, you know, because yeah, this ended up being pretty disappointing for me. I feel like the second half was so much weaker than the first half for me, which sucks because, you know, at the beginning of this book I was enjoying myself. I was thinking this could be like a 3 or 4 star book, but no, like that second half was like not that great. Like the second half is probably like a 2 star and the first half is probably like a 3 or 4 star, so I feel like I'll probably end up giving this one a 3 star overall. I hate that too because I feel like with all 3 books that I just read for this video, I feel like these are all thrillers that I feel very similarly about, where it's like they all had really great premises and they had a lot of potential. Like I could see them being something I would really like, but then there was just something about them that just didn't work for me. And I don't know if this is just like a me thing or if lately thrillers have just not been hitting the same as they always have for me. It's like one of those things where I start to question, am I not enjoying the newer thrillers because I've been reading so many thrillers now that I feel like I've seen it all before, or are thrillers just not as good as they once were? All these 3 authors are authors that I've read thrillers from before and I have enjoyed their thrillers before, so I think that's why it's extra surprising that I'm not enjoying the newer releases as much. So I don't know if it's just the books or if it's me or if I'm just bad at choosing books to read right now. I don't know. But anyways, I'm sorry to end the vlog on kind of a negative note. Like I never obviously want to make these vlogs like a negative experience, and it kind of sucks when I end up not enjoying any of the books the way that I thought I would. I would love to know your thoughts. If you've read any of these 3 books, how did you feel about them? Were you also disappointed by them in any way? Or I would also love to know if you've read any really good thrillers that have been published recently, like in the last couple of months, that you think flew under my radar and that I need to check out, because clearly I'm just not picking the right thrillers lately. So I would love to know if you have any recent faves that you're very excited about that you would love me to know about. Just wanted to remind you, don't forget to go and check out Magic Mind. You can use the link down in my description to get started and use my code gabbyreads20 to get up to 56% off your first subscription. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it, and I'm hoping to have better luck with my next reading vlog. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye!